What's cracking, y'all? You are now watching Boo TV. Appreciate you for stopping in. Like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell, stay notified, and let's get into the topic for today. At some point, if somebody would have came up to me like, yo, bro, you're going to be doing some content on Nick Gallus, I would have been like, who? You mean Nick Fury? No. You mean Nick at Night? No. Clearly you mean Showtime Nick. Showtime Nick. You talking about Showtime Nick? No. Nick Gallus, bro. And I'd be like, who the hell is Nick Gallus? And why the hell would I be doing content on this guy? I don't know who this guy is. Little did I know. Recently I put out a Larry Bird video centered around his ISU career. And during one of the exhibition games, I saw Larry Bird was playing with this guy named Nick Gallus, and they kept bringing his name up, kept putting the graphic up there, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, who is this guy? Obviously, he's somebody important because they keep talking about him. Like, they're only talking about him and Bird, and that's the only graphics they're putting up and, you know, making note of. So I ask you all, who is this guy? Where'd he come from? Obviously, I know he didn't make it to the NBA. I don't remember ever hearing about him in the NBA. So what's his story? Was he supposed to get drafted? Did something happen? I don't know. Luckily for me, you guys have answered my call, answered my cry, my plea for answers. And I appreciate each and every one of you that shed your wealth of knowledge with me and bestowing your intelligence on this subject matter with me. Thank you. So I'm going to go down and read to you all what some of our subscribers / viewers had to say whilst informing me about Nick Gallus, all right? First off, Darren Farrell, 6656, says, Nick Gallus, position guard, 6'2", school Seton Hall, drafted Boston Celtics 4th round, 2nd pick, 68th overall, 1979 NBA draft. Summary: career games 107 points, 15.4, total rebounds 2.4, assists 3.8. Bill Rafferty stated that Gallus was the best he had ever coached at Seton Hall. Thank you for that comment. Christian Lazo Paulos says Nick Gallus was the one career regret of Big Red Auerbach, as stated by him, for not securing him. Of Greek descent, he is considered European basketball royalty. When he moved to Greece and founded the Greek basketball dynasty that still holds until today. One national highlight for all Greeks, Gallus spearheading the 1987 European Championship win by overcoming the USSR behemoth of the day. Hope that helps. That does help. I appreciate you, Christian. Harry X 7711 says Nick Gallus put 50 on Michael Jordan over in a European game. Gallus was inducted to the Hall of Fame. Can you do a reaction video on Gallus? Well, Harry, we're here. Salute to you. All right. Creontis says, love the Gallus Bird game. Nick is truly amazing. There's a signature play that would be great for your Amazing Plays playlist. I'll check it out. As a Greek, he's the guy that made me and everyone else in the country love basketball. Nick was drafted by the Celtics in '79, so he would arrive with Bird, but he got injured during training camp and the Celtics decided not to sign him. Red said it's his only regret not signing him in the summer. Bird liked playing with him, and Bill Fitch, the Celtics coach at the time, wanted him and asked him to come back next season. Gallus, who wanted to help his family financially, decided to come to Greece. His parents were Greek who had moved to New York, where he was born, and played professionally after he came here. He never went back after all. Him and Oscar Schmidt are probably the best players to never play in the NBA, both because they would lose their national team eligibility. Remember, back then, NBA players weren't allowed in the national teams. And no, the announcers pronounced it wrong. You said it correctly the first time. The announcers kept saying Nick Gallus, so I was like, oh, my bad. I thought it was Gallus. I'm just saying his name wrong. All right, so I appreciate all you guys for that information about Nick Gallas and Harry. We are here with the reaction video. He dropped 50 points on Michael Jordan, but told the NBA no. Why? Here's the story of Nick Gallas in about 11 and a half minutes. Let's see what Mike Korzimba, the YouTube channel, has to say about it. Let's get into it.
What if I were to tell you that there was a player in basketball history who was so good that Boston Celtics legend Red Auerbach, a man who won a combined 16 NBA championships, said that the biggest mistake in his career was letting this player go? What if I said this man was inducted into the Basketball Hall of Fame as he was known as one of the greatest scorers of his generation due to the fact that he averaged nearly 28 points per game in college at Seton Hall, as well as scoring over 44 points per game overseas? And what if I said, legend has it, that on one historic night, this same man dropped 50 points on Michael Jordan's head? Well, listening to all of this, you'd probably assume that this player was some sort of NBA legend, but no. No, the topic of today's video, Nikos Gallas, never stepped foot on an NBA basketball court despite getting drafted by the Celtics and then receiving offers from both the Nets and the Celtics later on in his basketball career. Which means we have to ask the question here: why did this basketball legend never play in the NBA? And guys, I am very excited to say that this video is brought to you by Squarespace. We'll get more into that later, but for now, so what's up guys, Mike here, and today we are looking at the career of Nikos Gallas, a man who was the definition of a bucket at every single level of basketball he ever played at. Trust me when I say you are going to be in shock at just how much Nikos achieved as a basketball player, and you are definitely going to ask yourself the same question I've asked: what if Nikos Gallas played in the NBA? Because it is clear he would have been a game changer. He was just that good. And again guys, the goal in 2021 is 2 million subscribers. So if you are new to this channel, hitting that subscribe button just takes one click of a button from you and it means the world to me. I appreciate you guys so much. Thank you for all the new subscriptions. You guys are awesome. Please subscribe. And now I want to begin this story at the conclusion of the 1979 draft, where Nikos Gallas was just taken by the Boston Celtics with the 68th pick. And yes, the NBA did have more rounds in their draft at the time, but even though he would have been undrafted in today's NBA, the Celtics were very hopeful in Nikos's potential. The reason for this was that at Seton Hall, Nikos had transformed into one of the best players in the nation and was seen as an unstoppable scorer during his senior year. As in that senior season, Nikos scored 27.5 points per game, an incredible amount, as remember, at the time there was no three-point shot. What's even more amazing was that Nikos shot nearly 58% from the field as a guard, and that in 1979, he would finish as the nation's third leading scorer behind Lawrence Butler and Larry Bird. This 1979 season led to Seton Hall head coach Bill Raftery calling Nikos the best player he has ever coached, which is why it should be no surprise that when the Celtics training camp began, many people were very hopeful that Nikos had a long NBA career ahead of him. Only there was one problem, and it was his ankle. Yes, during training camp of that season, Nikos suffered a severe ankle injury, and because of this, Nikos was cut from the team as the Celtics were worried that this ankle injury might affect his entire career, and they also had another rookie guard in Gerald Henderson who could replace Nikos. This would turn out to be a massive mistake, and as I previously mentioned, Celtics legend Red Auerbach certainly had regrets about this decision. In fact, Red would go as far as to say, quote, "The only big mistake of my career was not signing Gallas back then," which are some pretty insane words when you think about it. Red Auerbach was involved with the Boston Celtics either as the team's coach, general manager, or president for over 50 years. To call Nikos his only big mistake must have meant that this really haunted him, and really, just based on the legend that Nikos dropped 50 points on Michael Jordan's head, is proof enough to me that this statement is true. Now, we are going to dig deeper into that Michael Jordan game in a bit. For now though, let's listen to Nikos's thoughts on getting cut. As he said, "It was my decision too. We sat down and talked. I had generous offers from Greece, coming from a poor family, to go overseas. It was a decision I never regretted because I fell in love with the place and people as soon as I got there. I've been there 38 years now. I never left, no regrets." And while Nikos might have no regrets, it's not hard to see why the Celtics and Red Auerbach did. Because during his professional basketball career, Nikos established himself as the best Greek player to ever play the game of basketball. In fact, fact, before we even get into his achievements, just know that Nikos was the first European player ever to get a $1 million basketball contract. That in itself is insane, but when we look at Nikos' career in Greece, we find that things only get crazy. Because at the time of his retirement, Nikos had established himself as the best Greek player to ever play the game of basketball. According to Euroleague.net, in over 12 seasons of Greek basketball, Nikos lost just 6 times and was the league's top scorer 11 times. And when I say top scorer, I mean that Nikos averaged nearly 40 points per game throughout his prime as a basketball player, and in 1981, he put up a staggering 44 points per game for the season. On top of this, Nikos also led the EuroLeague in scoring 8 times, and in those games against much tougher competition, Nikos still averaged close to 35 points per game for his EuroLeague career, with a high of 37.7 points per game in 1988. Again, the man was a walking bucket, and here's why. Now, to me, one of the most interesting things to look for when we watch Nikos' game is that on the offensive end, despite standing at just 6 feet tall and despite not having any sort of a great vertical leap, Nikos was able to become a lethal scorer through one of the most unique ways I have ever seen. We of course know about legendary moves like Kareem's skyhook and Dirk's fadeaway, and when it comes to Nikos, we can see that he definitely had a signature move of his own. Because when watching these clips, we can see that using his incredible core strength, Nikos was constantly able to knock down jumpers that were completely guarded. The way he was able to do this was simple in theory, but almost impossible in practice to pull off. Because while most basketball players basically have to shoot at the highest point of their jump shot, Nikos mastered the art of delaying his release until the defender that was contesting him was on the way down. This gave Nikos a near unstoppable jump shot, as even if you played near perfect defense, you would just watch as Nikos waited for you to fall to the ground, as he then proceeded to drain a jumper in your face. That's what defenders had to deal with on a nightly basis. That is what made Nikos such a legend. And as previously mentioned, Nikos was not only a scorer, but he was a winner too. Throughout his career, Nikos won several Greek League championships and Greek League cups, but the most impressive win of his career would come in the 1987 FIBA European Championship game. As throughout this tournament, Nikos was simply unstoppable and did the near impossible, carrying Greece to a championship win while averaging 37 points per game in the tournament. And to top things off here, Nikos would put up 40 points in the championship game as Greece won by just 2. This gave Greece just one of their 2 European championships in their country's entire history, and it's facts like that that make it easy to see why Nikos was seen as such a legend. But with all this in mind, before we do get into the Jordan game, you might be wondering, why did Nikos never come back to the NBA after playing some time overseas? And the answer to that does not come in the form of interest, because like I said before, Nikos was offered contracts by both the Celtics and the Nets later on in his career. The problem was, accepting those contracts would come with a huge price. FIBA rules at the time stated that NBA players were not allowed to play at the national team level, which meant if Nikos did accept an NBA contract, he could not play for Greece. And to me, it says a ton about Nikos and his national pride that he turned down the chance to play in the NBA because he loved representing his country that much. With that said, let's now talk about what you've been waiting for, Nikos' matchup with Michael Jordan himself. Now, to be clear, this matchup did occur when Jordan was in college and Nikos was playing with the Greece national team, but we have to remember 2 things. 1, the talent gap between the rest of the world and the United States was so big at this point that the Tar Heels would actually beat the Greece national team, and 2, Michael Jordan was already 20 years old and had already begun to show some serious flashes of the generational talent he would become. With that in mind, it's no surprise that in this game, Jordan would score 34 points in his team's win. What is potentially shocking is that the legend goes, for his part, Nikos scored 50 points on Michael Jordan. 50 points. Now, to be completely transparent with you guys, this game is actually a source of incredible debate, because while a lot of people do claim that Nikos didn't score 50 points here, others state that the number was closer to 24, which is an absurd difference. And unfortunately, because this was an exhibition game played in 1983, almost 30 years ago, there is no stat sheet, so we really can't tell for sure. Regardless of anything though, what I do know is that after this game, Michael Jordan gave Nikos the ultimate seal of approval, because when asked about Nikos, a more than impressed Mike would say, quote, "He is a complete player. I didn't expect to see such a scorer from Europe, especially from your country." Yes, Michael Jordan was in complete shock that Nikos was not playing in the NBA and instead was playing in Greece, something that I can say a lot of people were in shock of at the time, because by the end of his basketball career, career, it was clear. Nikos Gallus was one of the best players to never play in the NBA, and that was certainly confirmed when he was inducted into the Basketball Hall of Fame, which is awesome for Nikos. Again, he says he has no regrets, but I really wish we could have seen this guy play NBA basketball. I would have loved to see how his game translated to the NBA level. With that said though, thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you are new to this channel, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Again, the goal is 2 million subscribers in 2021. All it takes is a single click from you to subscribe, and it will be much appreciated by me. And I do want to say you guys have been so supportive lately. Thank you for that. It really does mean a lot. Also, as you guys know, if you're already subscribed, thank you so much for supporting. You're awesome. We all know it. And as always, have an awesome day, guys, and cue that music.
Nick Gallus. Nikos Gallus. Hell. See, before, we generally consider the Greek freak, Giannis Antetokounmpo, the best, Greek player in the NBA. But, had Nick Gallus made it, he would have been the greatest player from Greece to ever play in the NBA. And then the conversations would be, has Giannis Antetokounmpo eclipsed Nick Gallus yet as the greatest Greek player to ever play? Yeah, he would have brought a level of stardom from Europe very early. Well, much earlier than how we've seen these Europeans come into the league now. We didn't really have anyone with that level of talent back then in the 80s as a representative from Europe. That would have been nuts, man. That would have been nuts. Man, now listen, that's interesting stuff. Now I know his story. Now I know why he never went to the NBA. But whether he scored 50 or whether he scored 24, the point is, watching him play, and then Michael Jordan's testimony, the guy was the real deal. Seriously. And I would have no doubt if he did score 50 in that game. After what I saw, dude was shooting, I don't care what league you're in, dude was shooting, what, in the mid-50s? High 50%, he said? Anything over 50% as a guard. It's impressive. With no three-point line. No three-point line, bro. That's crazy. I mean, he's shooting jumpers. I mean, don't get me wrong. He's getting to the rack too, but he's hitting you with a decent dose of contested jumpers. And I noticed that before he said that. I was like, hey, I noticed sometimes he was holding on to the ball a little bit long and then releasing. And he brought that up. I was like, okay, I know I wasn't saying things. He has a nice stroke too, a nice stroke. Left hand, right hand. Uses his pivot foot well. I noticed he goes to those spin moves a lot. Very versatile. Good with his feet. Quick off his feet too. And he was throwing some nasty passes out there, man. That one he went like, no look. I said, ooh, Nick Gallus, boy, don't get saucy on him. What? Woof. Yeah. Yeah, dude could play. He reminds me of Jerry West a little bit. Like the European Jerry West a little bit. Anybody else see it in his play style? Maybe just a little bit. I don't know. I kind of see it. I was kind of seeing shades of Jerry West there. That man could play. I mean, his European numbers are very good. You know what I mean? Dude was lighting the league up. And I'm thinking about the Boston Celtics and what Red Auerbach said. A couple things about that too. One, the Boston Celtics got this guy with Bird? Are you nuts? Hell, Larry might have won that first championship in his rookie year. They might have made it to the finals. And they might have beat the Lakers had they had this guy as advertised. If he was anything close to his peak self, which would have been in his rookie year at the Boston Celtics. Whew, sheesh. Interesting. Had they missed out on him And no fault to them, no fault to the Celtics. They ended up missing out on Len Bias, rest in peace. Yeah, I'm looking at, they could have had Bias, Gallus, and Larry Bird in the early stages of that Boston Celtics era. Think about that. What? Man, that is a big what if story right there. That is a big what if. What if? Ooh, what I got here? Something stuck in my beard. Get out of there. There we go. What if they had that triple-headed monster? Ooh. Nuts. Crazy to think about. And the other thing I have for Red, I just, him of all people to pass on somebody because of an ankle injury. Now, they didn't really specify the extent of what that ankle injury was about, but given this guy's credibility and who he was and who he was known to be, it just kind of baffled me because I've seen Red, you know, he knew Larry was injured coming in and there were some question marks around Larry. And he didn't let the injuries to Larry with the finger, he didn't let that, you know, waver from what he wanted in his decision making. And then I look at Bill Walton. And the doctor's like, bro, this guy shouldn't be playing basketball. He cannot play basketball. And what Walton had was atrocious. Atrocious. Like, damn near everybody thought his career was over, except for Walton and Red, after he convinced Red, especially. And he said, hey, Bill, I see what the doctor's telling me. He's showing his results. What do you think? You think you could play? What did Bill say? Well, coach, yeah, I think I still got some left in me. Yeah, I can still play. All right, you're on. And then for him to pass on Nick because of an ankle injury, man, even broken ankles get sewed up. Unless there was something like chronic or something that they say this is going to be a problem for the rest of your career. I can't believe he passed on him. I've always looked at Red as that guy to look past injuries and say, we're giving it a go regardless. Let's see what you're made of, son. It's crazy. Dude could ball out. Dude could ball out, no question about it. Glad I got a chance to see him. Glad you guys put me on to this guy. I saw that he had, as they mentioned, he was in the Basketball Hall of Fame, and as I was looking for a specific video, I saw that they actually had his Basketball, Hall of Fame enshrinement speech up on YouTube. Might have to react to that one of these days. Anywho, appreciate you guys for sharing this with me. Thank you for the knowledge. I can walk away from this video a little bit smarter in the world of NBA basketball, or the world of basketball in general. Thank you. Appreciate you. Like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell, stay notified. And I'll catch you on the next one. We out. Baby.